So, I want to begin this by inviting you to imagine a room much smaller than this. A kitchen cabin filled with plants in New Mexico, in the mountains, in the forest. Not so different from these mountains. In a tiny cabin kitchen with a wood stove, the warm scent of juniper and artemisia, jars of steeping blossoms, bundles of leaves, and the sharp resin of roots spread out on a white cloth. If you listen closely enough, you can hear the quiet sounds of the plants infusing, simmering on the wood stove, drying, transforming. I have been practicing herbalism for 20 years. I have been obsessed with plants since I was a child. I didn't know when I was a little girl that herbalism was something that people still did. I thought it was something in storybooks. I thought it was something in fairy tales that wise women in remote villages did, that people who knew about magic used, but not something that was still present in this world. The first time I found a book about some Brodale's Encyclopedia of Herbs in a library, I thought I had discovered a gateway to actual magic. To me, it was like Tolkien level. I grew up with gardening. I always loved plants, but to understand that there is a way to work with plants that create a relationship between people and plants was perhaps the most revolutionary moment of my life. And ever since I found that that was possible, I've been pursuing it in whatever way I could.
I am headed to the Medicines from the Earth Symposium. It is Friday. There is the keynote tonight, as well as they're gonna introduce the teachers and stuff. This is the first time I've ever been, so I'm pretty excited. We're gonna do some filming. Ellen will be joining me, and it should be real good. It's at Lake Junaluska this year because usually it's in Black Mountain, but the hurricane kind of messed that space up, so it is no longer available. Hopefully we can interview some teachers and some attendees and whatever else we can interview. This will be a podcast episode, which you're probably listening to right now or watching.
But in the end, the thing that has been most important, most profound, and what I feel like I am most able to pass on to others is finding each person's connection with the plants and plugging into the mystery that's there.
I've never been to Lake Junaluska. It seems very gorgeous and very big. So it should be really interesting. I've never been to this symposium. I probably already mentioned that. And so today I'm going by myself. So Ellen will not be joining me since it is late Friday night. The mountains look really pretty tonight, even though it's very hazy. And oh, there we go, Lake Junaluska. You see it? All right. Yes, filming while driving. Very safe. Kids, do not do this at home. And for some reason it's blurry. So there we go. Oh, it's getting the steering wheel. I don't know.
We gather here today as herbalists, as healers, as wanderers, as keepers of green knowledge. And I want to invite us into different ways of seeing our work, not merely as practical or clinical, although it certainly is, but as something mythic, as something enchanted. Let us begin not with data, but with wonder. There's a quote that I've loved for a long time from a scholar named Patrick Curry, and from an essay called The Work of Wonder. And I want to read it to you because it's had a profound impact on my life and on my practice as an herbalist. What wonder can do for us is to reveal a deep truth about the more than human world. That is, the natural world that includes but vastly exceeds us, and all of the unfathomable specificity of its countless avatars, not its use value, the currency of disenchantment, but of its intrinsic value. One way of expressing which is not for sale, and that is a healing truth. It is good for us to know, and it benefits our mental, spiritual, social, or even ecological health that aren't only ours. They feed back into care for the earth. Indeed, I don't think we have any chance of stopping or reversing ecocide without the truths afforded by its natural enchantments. Because that is what the mysterium of the plants and the healing work that we have, it is enchantment. And that is the center of what I want to speak to you about today.
It's Saturday morning. I am, of course, running late, but I've got an hour till the first class. I don't know if I'm going or not. I might just get some interviews of some vendor. I don't even know what's going to happen. Last night was incredibly late. I should have got a picture, but I ended up chatting with herbalist Corey Pine and Jim McDonald and Kiva Rose and Ibsy. And Jim McDonald and Kiva Rose are really big, herbalists that we did Kiva's book on the podcast, Weed Wives Remedy, and I've been a fan. And she did the keynote, which I did record. I don't know how much is going to go in the video. I also recorded the teacher introductions, which I lost because I did something with my camera that I don't normally do, but I was so nervous. This thing, everything makes me so nervous. But yeah, so but I was really a fangirl moment. I was like, oh my gosh, we're just hanging out really late in this empty room, and I was like, I don't know how this happened. That was really cool. Didn't get a picture. You just end up chatting about random stuff with people that you've only known of online. So it's really, really cool. It was a really cool moment. And everyone is so nice. He was like, here's my number so we can do an interview. And I was like, ah! I was like, oh my gosh! It was so awesome. Maybe I should, I don't know. It's raining. I mentioned that. And I think it's going to stop soon, I hope. Because the lake is really beautiful. I think tomorrow it's not supposed to rain, which is good because I want to take some pictures of the lake, and I think me and Ellen would like to chat outside. And my name is Jennifer.
And I'm Ellen. And we're with
Stories from the Earth podcast.
Yeah.
And we are here at the Medicines from the Earth Symposium.
Being hosted this year at Lake Junaluska Assembly in Western North Carolina.
A beautiful place.
We had interviewed Linnea, one of the founders of the symposium, on a previous podcast episode, and she invited us to come see what it's all about.
So, hi, I'm Wendy Warner. I'm a functional medicine gynecologist. I did the usual medical training, spent 15 years in a conventional OB practice. And during that time, I was actually teaching myself herbal medicine because I had some conditions that I didn't want to use the treatment that I was trained to use. But I kept my mouth shut because this was the 90s and docs didn't do this stuff. And so I didn't tell patients about it. Then in 2004, I started an integrative medicine practice. I always say it was sort of like having a multi-specialty group, because it was me and an acupuncturist, a massage therapist, a couple of energy workers, a coach, a dietitian, a shaman. It was awesome. We kept that going for about 18 years. COVID changed everything. So now I am a solo practitioner. Well, I mean, I do have a coach I work with, but I have a fully telemedicine practice. So along the way, after I got my functional medicine training and had done the bulk of my herbal training, I started teaching for the Institute for Functional Medicine, primarily in their hormone module. And I also teach for David Winston, Center for Herbal Studies. I do primarily the women's health module for him, although I do a couple of grad classes here and there. Andrew Appello, who also teaches for David, he and I put together a basic anatomy and physiology course that is available online, and it's aimed at herbalists who need that as a requirement for their herbal training. It would be good for any other kind of healthcare practitioner too. The first time I ever came to Medicines from the Earth was, I don't remember the exact year, but it was somewhere in the early 2000s. And I felt kind of out of my element because I was kind of new to herbal medicine at that point. And almost everybody I met was a professional herbalist. I mean, I did think I met one other medical doctor and a couple of nurses and an acupuncturist, but most everybody back then were professional herbalists. And it was such an amazing environment to be in. And it is so awesome to actually be able to be here this year as one of the speakers. I've had the opportunity to do an intensive workshop on an approach to menopause and talking about the new research on menopause as a neurologic and immunologic condition, as well as a hormone imbalance. I'm also doing a workshop on an approach to fertility, because in the conventional medical model, so many people get told, oh, we don't know what's wrong. And actually, from a functional medicine and a basic medicine standpoint, we can actually help most of these people. I'm also really thrilled to be on a panel with two other brilliant practitioners to talk about how we keep our patients motivated when they've got like diabetes and pre-diabetes. How do you keep them motivated to do the lifestyle changes? And so that's going to be a great fun panel that we're doing as well. And it's just awesome to be here.
Today is like the first full day of classes.
You didn't do a class this morning, did you?
No, I did not do a class.
You were
this morning.
interviewing people and stuff. But then when I got here, we went to Jim McDonald's class about nervines. And he just had a board up of a lot of different herbs. And he was like, people just holler out which herb you want to know about and I'll talk about it. And he definitely had a few on there that people go, what? That's a nervine? And it was just more his application of use. So even if it was something like skunk cabbage, which had a very narrow window that what he might use it in, that it was still could fall into the category of being used. If you're thinking of nervines being for stressful situations.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, the more traditional ones that people think, like passion flower and skullcap on the board. So it was a really, I thought it was a really great class, because that's usually what I'm confused about is there's so many herbs that are considered nervines, and you're like, which one do I take?
Yeah.
I can't take all of them. So that really, really helped clear it up. The ones we talked about were for your heart. We talked about ones for your digestive system, and then for your like
just mental noise.
Mental noise, and then like one for migraines that would assist with that. Has like quite a sense of humor, and it was just very, very digestible, very like accessible, approachable. You didn't feel like it was over your head. The information was, although he did go back and forth between two different nervines sometimes, which got confusing. But other than that, the information was very clear and very understandable. And I like that, because there's a lot of information in herbalism, and it's good to be able to sort of distill it.
Hey, I'm Ellen Silm with Stories from the Earth, and we're here coming at you, well, not live because you're going to watch this after the fact, but we're at the Medicines from the Earth 2025 conference in Western North Carolina, and I am sitting with one of the presenters, Jim McDonald. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, Jim, and how long you've been involved in this organization and where you come from? And
I am an herbalist. I live in Michigan. We like to show people where we live, so I live about right here in White Lake. This is my first time at this event. I'm so happy. I've known about it for a long time, and Caitlin contacted me and was like, would you be interested in coming down? I'm like, yeah, of course I would. Because plant people, like I'm gonna be around a bunch of plant people.
Yeah.
I've been studying herbs for over 30 years and teaching herbs for over 25 years and running a course called Lindera that I run in Michigan for, I think this is my 20th year doing that. The best way to sum it up is, in 1994, I got really interested in herbs and started studying them, and I never stopped. I just kept going because there's always more to learn and more perspectives and more nuance to get into.
so do you have like a property you grow stuff on too, or you teach on site, or are you mostly online based?
I always have in-person courses. I have a lot of in-person walks where we, go out and we just look at stuff and in lawns and woods and swamps and fields and meadows, kind of rain, snow, sleet or shine. I'll be out there doing walks. And I've got a course, again, it's like in its 20th year, and that runs from like April through October. So that's like my long course that I do every year. And there's an online and an in-person version of that.
Okay, nice.
And we started the online one during the pandemic because we need to make a living. It's cool because it connects me with people that can't, like some people to come to the in-person course have come from Texas. They've come from Colorado. They've come from New York or Pennsylvania. But, no one has come from Australia. And I have students in Australia.
Is that where you learned about the carpet shark you were referencing in your class today?
So the tasseled wobbegong, the carpet shark, I saw like a little picture of it on the internet and a little mini documentary on it. And I was like, that is going to be the new thing that attacks people, because when teachers normally talk about the sympathetic nervous system response and they want to use an example, they say something like, a bear starts chasing you, or a mountain lion, or a saber-toothed tiger, because they want to go back to prehistoric people, saber-toothed tigers, that's what creates the stress response. And I was like, you can't say dogs. No, you can't do dogs, because if you do dogs, someone will have that breed of dog, they'll be upset at you. But I started doing Wookalars first, and then I went to Willowaws, and then when I heard about the wobbegong, I'm like, well, W's. I mean, it's fun to say.
And it kind of breaks the tension of
It does, because
illustrates the point.
And I said this in class, and this is sometimes because I use a lot of humor in my teaching. If there's funny stories and funny analogies, that funniness becomes an anchor for a concept, right?
Yeah.
So people remember the joke, and then with the joke, they remember the concept, even if the joke is bad, which takes all the pressure off of you. But every once in a while, I've had people be like, but there are really serious things, like this terrible thing that happens in the world, and this terrible thing that happens in the world, and this terrible thing that happens in the world, which I know, and I work with. But people are in a class for an hour and a half, and I don't want people leaving the class feeling like, I don't want people in the class feeling triggered because they've experienced some of the terrible things in the world. Unless I come across the Australian who's visiting, who did actually get bit by a tasseled wobbegong, who I don't think would really bite a person unless you stepped on them. Then probably not an issue.
Yeah. In that rare case that happened, you could just make them a special concoction containing all of these herbs and be like, sorry. Yeah. On that note, what all are you presenting and teaching while you were here this weekend? We just did a class with you regarding nervines and stress response.
We just talked about nervines, and the purpose of this class was to be like not thinking about nervines like they're stronger ones for when you're really stressed out and weaker ones when you're only stressed out a little bit, or like you're a kid. Because a lot of times people are like, oh, chamomile, that's an herb you'd give to children, and I'm really stressed out. I'm like, you need some chamomile. Like an example of a chamomile presentation would be when someone is upset about not getting something that they want, and they make like a big fuss because they didn't get the thing that they want. They want everyone to know that they're not happy and they don't have the thing that they want. But if you were to give them the thing that they want, they wouldn't be happy, because now they're
Still sounds like a kid,
really
but adults are perfectly capable.
About being upset. And it is a really recognizable pattern you can see in children. And then you start thinking about like, what about when I listen to politicians talk? Like, they're just angsty about being angsty. And chamomile is good for that presentation, no matter like who has it or how old they are.
Yeah.
Looking at those presentations makes us think, more qualitatively about how we can utilize herbs. And the way that I use herbs is in an energetic model. It's a very qualitative system, as you're looking at like really what's happening with people and how they're like, not just that they have a cough, but that their cough is damper or it's drier or it's more spasmodic. And not just that they're really stressed out, but that they're really stressed out and exhausted, or really stressed out and really anxious, or they're really stressed out and they're really worrying a lot, or they're really stressed out and they feel like they're going to vomit. Because all of that additional information that is more than just really stressed out helps us figure out like what herb seems most appropriate for that person.
And I really appreciated that note. Probably, I think that was a big takeaway from the class, is don't think of it in terms of strong or weaker. Think of it forceful versus gentler.
Gentle. Yeah. Gentle does not mean weak. And I think about that with people too. Gentle people are not weak people. They're just as powerful as forceful people.
Now, we live here and grew up around here and are pretty familiar with a lot of plants around here. If you're natively from Michigan or been there a while, obviously, is there any particular plant up there that we might not find down here that you would want to highlight? It's just like, this is in my backyard and it's a fun one.
I'm not really sure.
There's a lot
because
of
there's
overlap.
There's a lot of overlap here, which is good because one of the next class I have is an herb walk, and there's enough stuff that I know that I can do a good herb walk. But there's also a lot of stuff here that I don't know, and there's some things here that they look a little bit different. So I'm doing an herb walk, and one of the plants I'll talk about is water hemlock. It's probably the most deadly plant in North America. When I looked at it, I was like, that's water hemlock. And I looked a little bit closer and I was like, the venation is a little bit more branched than what I'm used to seeing. Does it just look a little bit different here? The leaflets are a little bit broader. So I just asked people who live down here, and they're like, yeah, water hemlock. I'm like, okay.
Important one to know.
It's an important one to know, because a lot of times when people learn about plants, and whether it's wildcrafting for medicinal plants or foraging for edible plants, what people want to do is they want to learn about the plants that they want to use for food or medicine. And that's great. But you also, if you're going to gather wild plants, you have to learn about the potentially dangerous plants so that you don't hurt yourself or another person trying to do something awesome. It's fun and empowering to learn plants. And so I get to learn more plants.
What's the other one? There's another one that has a similar, I think people could misidentify by the flower. Is it, that's also not a very good, is it hogsweed? It looks similar to the
hemlock. So there's a plant called giant hogweed. So the thing with giant hogweed is that if it's in flower, one of the identifying characteristics is you'll almost always be looking at it because it's giant. So if you're looking down at something that is in flower, it's probably not giant hogweed. There is, however, wild parsnip, which is the same species as garden parsnip, and the sap of that plant is similar to the hogweed sap. And if it gets on your skin, the furocoumarins basically photosensitize you and you get really horrific sunburns.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I've only gotten into one of those one time. A couple of years ago, I had this rash start, and there's actually even a smidge of scarring on my arm.
Wow.
And I was less upset about the rash and the scarring and more upset because I could not figure out where I got into it. I try so hard to really be mindful about the toxic plants because I'm taking people out on walks, right? I'm taking people out, retracing my steps the whole, week before. Where could I have gotten into this? I actually went back to different parks. I didn't figure it out. That's okay. It was me and not the student. That's what matters.
Was that your first and only time you'd had that?
It was the first and only time that I've gotten
into that.
A furocoumarin photosensitizing rash on me at all. I would opt to not do it again if possible.
Hoping you're having fun here in Western North Carolina doing all this. You think you'll be back in coming years?
Oh yeah, I'd love to be back.
Awesome.
If I get asked back, it's that's an easy answer.
Nice.
For sure. It's a beautiful part of the country, and there's sometimes overlapping people, but there's some people unique to that bioregion. This is the first time I've seen Corey Pine in a really long time, and he's so awesome. He's such a great herbalist and cool human. When I saw that he was on the roster, I was really happy about that. So my website is herbcraft.org, And there is also another website, someday they'll merge together, which is herbcraft.podia.com. And that has all the online stuff because they have all of the architecture to make all of that work. And then if you just go onto like YouTube and you type in Jim McDonald and Herbalist, there's so many hours of plant walks and parts of classes and little tidbits here and there, silly videos that we do just because they're amusing to us. I think on the website there's hundreds of pages worth of writing. I've always wanted to put out a lot of information because I feel like I don't love promoting myself. I do not love promoting myself. I'd rather be like, this is what I do, like this is the work that I do, and put that out. And the people who, when they watch it or read it, are like, oh, the way that this person explains things or teaches things really works for me. It really makes things click for me. That's the right person who should take classes with me or read more of my stuff or check more things out.
Yeah, that's awesome. I like that approach. Then you don't have to feel like you're shoving stuff on anybody. You're like, I'm just doing what I do and it's fun and you can take it or leave it. Yeah.
Well, there's so many good teachers, because like if someone's like, whose school should I go to? And I've had people ask me that, should I go to your school or this person's school? And I'm like, I'm not the right person to ask that question to. It's like, whose way of teaching clicks with you better. And if someone wants PowerPoints, don't study with me. I did one PowerPoint ever in my life, and I thought, that wasn't very fun. I don't think I'm going to do those again. And I haven't done one since. And people have said, like, well, but you need to do a PowerPoint. I was like, if I need to do one, I don't know if I need to teach there, because I don't think that doesn't bring out the best in the way that I can share information. And so someone else would do that better. And also, like, people have different perspectives, or they just click with different people, and it's okay. There's a lot of great herb teachers, as long as there's enough people.
You made it here, so I think that was a good sign.
Well enough here. You keep doing good work, and it comes back to you. That's what I hope for.
Yeah.
Be kind to people.
Well, thank you, Jim.
All
It was a pleasure to talk to you today.
Toodaloo.
Hi, my name is Esme.
I'm Lindsay.
And we are here with Firestorm Books. Firestorm is an anarchist bookstore run by a feminist collective in Asheville, North Carolina. Firestorm has been around for 17 years, and we have been coming to medicines for almost that many. This is both of our 4th years vending at medicines, and we are so excited.
Woo! I am planning to go to the disaster herbalism session this morning and this afternoon. I'm excited about the botanical support for HPV. I'm really interested in gynecology support through herbs. Always love medicines and all of the things there's to learn.
Yeah, getting to sit in on the sessions is one of the benefits to being here. And then this year, the other one is getting to spend some time on the gorgeous Lake Junaluska.
I'm Tom Dedant, and I am one of the national science educators for Host Defense Mushrooms. And Host Defense Mushrooms is the largest mushroom supplement company, manufacturing and sales company in the North America. We do predominantly mushroom mycelium with the substrate, the rice, organic brown rice substrate that we grow it on. And so all of the bottles that you see on the table, the sign that you see behind you, that's all a combination of mushroom mycelium and its growth substrate. Nice thing about that is the growth substrate is fermented by the mycelium, so it's a fermented product. We get all the fermentation metabolites, we get all of the other good, wonderful compounds that the mycelium has, as well as the fermentation metabolites. So it's the best of both worlds. And we have lots and lots of research behind our products. Literally, we do test our own products. We don't just test generic mushrooms, we test our own products to be able to guarantee that they are clean, they are safe, they are effective, and we put our name on it. That's what's important. If people would like to learn more about Host Defense, you can go to hostdefense.com. If you'd like some really wonderful mushroom references on how and why we do what we do, you can go to a website called mushroomreferences.com and look up some wonderful clinical studies. All you have to do is remember hostdefense.com or mushroomreferences.com.
Here, compared to like some of the farming conferences and stuff we've gone to in the past, I feel like the class length is a little longer. Like they're allowing for about an hour and a half is the standard, which is nice because it gives them a full time to do introduction of themselves and all of that. And then also kind of lead out and take questions without getting too rushed, whilst being able to be pretty thorough about what their class is about. So I think they've hit upon something there, because I feel like in comparison to things we've done before, when it was maybe more set at like 45 minutes to an hour, those ones would feel a little bit more rushed. Hurry, everybody get out and get to the next class, and you know, so.
Yeah, here it's kind of like chill. They're even like, they run over time. Everyone, it seems like they're like, oh, it's 10 minutes. Everyone's 10 minutes late. And they're like, oh, da, da, da. You were saying the other ones had more of a frantic pace. And it seems like this one is sort of calmer, chiller.
Yeah.
It's not very big, like the area that you're running to your next class. Because when we were at like UNCA, you're like here and then you gotta go there sometimes.
Only unless you're doing a plant walk.
Unless you're doing a plant walk.
Because the place is so, it's beautifully manicured, but it's so manicured that to get to the few areas where there's going to be more of the types of plants that these folks would be talking about, it's like a ways walk from the conference center. But I mean, it's fine. It's a nice walk. I mean, as long as the weather's nice, which it is, thankfully.
I am Brandy Santini. I'm from right north of New Orleans at a place called Slidell, Louisiana. This is my second time to come to Medicines of the Earth. I am here because I've been an herbal enthusiast for about 25 years. I have a little shop back home, so I'm always trying to learn more every single chance that I get. Probably some of my favorite classes was one that I just had with Teresa Boardwine, because I love kitchen medicine. I love making delicious products with herbs. But I learned a lot from the Sam Hoffman, the medic side of it, treating wounds in the wild, if you will. That was super interesting for me. And then I love anything by Kat Meyer. I just think she's a beautiful person. I don't really necessarily come from a very spiritual, energetic side of herbalism. When I first learned, it was very much clinical, and I'm learning to embrace the other side, and she makes it so easy to learn that. We did a fantastic class where we went out into the landscape and we sat with different trees and tried to really embrace what the energetics were, what we were feeling, what the patterns were. It really opened my eyes to looking at herbalism from so many different facets.
Awesome.
That's it.
You have a shop?
A Green Oaks Apothecary. It's in historic Old Town Slidell. I don't have a website. We just do social media and in-house experiences where we do a lot of classes and medicine making, and then allow the community to come in. And we have lots of bulk herbs and vitamins and supplements, and we make a lot of body products too. So, but it's more of an education center is what I would say than more than anything. Green Oaks Apothecary.
Getting some interviews while I went down to take a class with Kat Mayer about establishing a relationship, and she works with like plant energetics. So she was mostly talking about wide angle vision and how that actually, was news to me, so this is good to know. Keeping in line with the stress reduction theme of so many of the things going on here, she had everybody put their hands out in front of them like this and wiggle their fingers, and just like, so you're kind of like focusing past your fingers, but you can see your fingers, and then you move your fingers out to the sides as far as you can until you can no longer notice in your peripheral vision that your fingers are wiggling. And then you try to maintain that sort of soft, semi-focused vision and stay in that state, because then you're going to start being more aware of things that are all around you. And she was comparing that to like something that a lot of trackers and hunters do, as well as like martial artists who have to be aware of like things coming from behind and stuff like that. It builds up your sensitivity to your surroundings. But what's interesting is it helps you drop into the parasympathetic, calm, relaxed state.
So you could use that to sort of
It's like a little meditation. And then if you're able to do that, then you also become more open and aware of things that are around you. So she had everybody practice that exercise a few times so that they would kind of have a sense of what it like feels like. And it was hard to do when there was that many people around, because you're trying not to get distracted by them wiggling their fingers in your face. But what I realized, what helped in my mind, what helped is, because I was like, how do you not, if somebody tells you don't focus on something, you immediately want to focus on something.
Yeah.
So it was like, but if you think about like if you're going to daydream, where you have to kind of relax your eyes and you just kind of drift off into nowhere's land for a minute and people go, hello, are you paying attention? That kind of vision, that's what it is. And when I made that connection in my head, it was easier for me to do it. Then she divided the group in two and had us the group sit under two different types of trees for 15 minutes and then switch and then sit for 15 minutes and then come back together and share their just impressions, just what they felt and sensed about either the tree or the surroundings at the time. And because her whole point was to notice the patterns, because that's the energetics behind everything. And it was really amazing because there was probably 20 people at least.
Wow. And
to have that many people who didn't speak a word to each other, most of us didn't know each other, come back with the same distinct senses about these two different trees, which were very different. It wasn't like, if one person had said, the oak tree makes me feel protected, a lot of people go, oh yes, oak trees, strong. Like it would almost have been too cliche, but people were digging in more than that, and it was still lining up. So that was definitely, I was surprised.
That's cool. That's quite a plant walk.
Yeah.
It's more like a plant
sit.
A plant sit.
Yes, it was a plant sit.
Yes, yes.
We had to walk a long way to where we were going to sit, but it was a nice sit.
Yes, you came back and you looked all...
I was like, you could just go take a nap, I think.
Refreshed.
Yeah.
Like he did.
My name is Doug Williams. I am the National Sales Director for a company called Quality of Life Labs. We are a brand based out of New York that is largely involved in bringing in Japanese phytopharmaceuticals to the American market. So all of our products have human research. All of our products are used at clinically effective dosage. Largely due to the regulation of the Japanese herbal products industry. They allow for patent protection for manufacturers, so you can pay for human research. So as a result, you can get a lot more research on your products that other companies can't turn around and then sell it. So one of the challenges of herbal medicine is that if you pay all the money to do the research to prove something works, someone else can turn around and sell it. So there's not a lot of incentive for companies to turn around and do the work. Our company is bringing in products from Japan that have a different scenario that they're working with, and that the Japanese system of medicine is much more accepting and utilizing of herbal medicine, and the Japanese regulatory environment recognizes the need for research and supports it to happen. So as a result, we've got products that have like over 50 human studies or over 30 human studies. So we can specifically give people suggestions as to outcomes for clinical use. It's unique in the industry. It is not the only valuable thing in the industry, but it is what differentiates us, is that we can say with a great deal of confidence what exactly people should expect predictably when using our products. It's not to say that anything is guaranteed, but we have a better idea of what we can expect. QOL.us or qualityoflife.com. Either one gets you there.
I'm Kate. I am the production manager over at Red Moon Herbs. It is a wonderful women-owned and operated small business. We use herbs from Appalachia, local farms, wild-crafted herbs, connected with all sorts of lovely people, bring us really beautiful plants. Super excited to be here at Medicines from the Earth. The next class I'm going to take is with Todd and Doug Elliot. I've heard very amazing storytellers, and there's lots of folklore and songs. I'm super excited to experience that because I haven't yet. So learn all about the plants with them.
Tomorrow, we've got day 2.
Catch a couple more classes and
interview some more people. And we interviewed some amazing herbalists that we have only seen on the internet. Big figures, I feel like, to us at least. Oh, I forgot to get a picture of David.
oh, no one's gonna believe us.
All right, everyone. Day 2. I am a little bit later arriving because we had to go to the grocery store. And so I'm going to be arriving after the first class. Everything I got was in focus so far, so I'm really happy about that. And it's going to be a beautiful day. The sun is out. So I've got a bunch of people I want to try to interview and things like that. And we're going to go to a few more classes. We're going to go to a panel in the afternoon, and I'll probably miss the herb walk again, just depending on how I feel. And also I'm like dragging around a lot of equipment and things like that. I really don't know. I mean, it might be a good idea. It just depends, because then I won't be filming it. You know, I really want to balance getting really good, interviews and also participating. So I think if I do like 2 classes today, like a class and a panel, I'll really be happy. It's been stressful. Yeah. I always get so nervous. I just can't eat. I wish I could eat something in the morning. I just can't eat anything. And like on the way home, like I chugged like my whole water bottle. Like I did better drinking water, but I didn't drink enough. So like I chugged my whole water bottle and like ate a whole thing of beef jerky, and I was like, holy shit. just because of how I feel when I'm there. There's so much going on, and I guess my little digestive system and nervous system is like, and I'm pretty much really low on all my nervine herbs right now, so I'm like, oh gosh. So anyway, here comes day 2. Hope you guys enjoy, and me and Ellen will be back for the wrap up. I guess the final wrap up. Sad, so sad. These things go by so fast, but it's just amazing. It's an amazing opportunity to meet more herbalists and to just chat. A lot of chatting, a lot of talking. It's just, yeah.
Hi, my name is Sam Coffman. I am the founder and co-director of Herbal Medics Academy, aka The Human Path. We've been around for over 17 years. Currently are located in Taos, New Mexico, or in the mountains east of Taos, New Mexico. I'm down here at Lake Junaluska for the botanicalmedicine.org for the Medicines of the Earth conference, which is fantastic. It's been a great experience. Linnea Wardell puts on such an amazing conference. I've never been to this one. I've taught up at the one in the Southwest before, but this is just a fantastic area to do it in. Everything's green and lush and beautiful. I haven't been to North Carolina in a long time, so it's good to see the people recovering also from the disaster from Helene. I gave 2 classes. One was on post-disaster herbalism, basically, which also includes austere herbalism, herbalism in remote areas, herbalism where there's no higher care, definitive care that's available. And along those lines, I gave a second class on wound management, wound and infection management using herbs. We've had really wonderful students. We've had some great back and forth questions, and I did a demonstration a little bit, just got into a tiny bit of demonstration using charcoal and then using, of course, different herbs, different blends of herbs in poultices, and how to do that, how to manage wounds, what the different wound colors are, how to manage the inflammation cycle as well as the proliferation cycle, but of course any kind of infection and biofilm infection management in that process as well. I speak always from a perspective of professional experience and not just from books that somebody else has written. I'm basically, everything I do and everything I teach and everything I write is based on my own experience in the field, either through our outreach organization, Herbal Medics, in other countries and here in underserved areas, but also from my time prior to this when I was in the military as a Special Forces medic. I love to be able to share that and to organize that information in different ways. So I have 2 books out right now, a third is on the way through Story Publishing, Herbal Medic, which goes into a lot of the detail of the things I just talked about, and then also one on gardening called Survival Gardening, which is based on the concept of how would you grow food that you had to live from that provided enough calories and enough nutrients for you if there was no food available. So that Survival Gardening is also from Story Publishing. I have a third one on the way dealing with water and everything that you can imagine about being able to get water, purify water, deal with waterborne diseases and so forth too. That'll be out in about a year. In addition to that, I'm writing a fiction series. I have the first book just about finished and that should be out this fall. That's actually going to be self-published. I'm working through story on that one. And that's actually a post-apocalyptic main character is kind of similar background to myself. You can find us again at herbalmedics.academy. It's Herbal Medics Academy. You can find my store at herbalfirstaidgear.com. You can find my YouTube under The Human Path. You can find us online. Anything to do with Herbal Medics. Our teleclinic is herbalmedics.clinic. And then anything online and Facebook and Instagram is either Herbal Medics Academy or The Human Path or both. So if you look for that, you'll find us there. Or look for my name and you'll find me there, Sam Coffman.
I'm Ellen Zilm here with podcast Stories from the Earth with my cohort Jennifer behind the camera. And we're sitting with the, I'll say, legendary David Winston, just because I feel like if you are, like, the deeper you get into herbal stuff, like, you wouldn't have not heard his name. He's here with us at the Medicines from the Earth Symposium 2025 here in beautiful Western North Carolina. Hello, David.
Hi.
Have you been enjoying the symposium?
Absolutely.
What classes are you focusing on this year?
What classes did I teach?
That you're teaching.
Well, yesterday, what I do here every year, and of course we're in a different location this year because unfortunately the Blue Ridge Assembly was heavily damaged by Hurricane Helene last year. I do a field study, and the field study, it's all day, it's 10 to 3, and in the morning it's more focused in on the place, the power of the mountains, the power of the water, the power of the earth, the power of, understanding and coming together to not just think, oh, that herb's good for this, but how we can help heal ourselves just by becoming a part of something greater than ourselves. And in this place is special. The Smoky Mountains are some of the oldest mountains in the world. When they were new, they were higher than the Himalayas are today. And so this is a place that is ancient and old and just is full of juice. So the morning is about that. And then in the afternoon, we start looking at plants. And we're lucky because this convention center is pretty manicured, but they have this little wildflower preserve area, and it is sweet. And there's just lots and lots of really cool things, including some really rare things growing in there. And so the afternoon we just spent looking at plants. And when I'm doing all this, I'm telling stories, singing songs, and all sorts of other things. And so that was what I did yesterday. And then today, the first herb conference in the United States was at a place called Brighton Bush Hot Springs in 1981. And the funny thing is that at the time I was like the only herbalist there from the East Coast. There was somebody else from east of the Mississippi, from Ohio. That was it. And in all the 40 plus years I've been going and teaching at herb conferences, one of the things I've never heard anybody teach was the class I taught today. And today I taught a class on herbal nutritional proctology. And, you know, obviously for many years it's kind of a taboo subject and people are a little embarrassed about it. But hey, all I can say is you have hemorrhoids, you want to know what you can do to get rid of hemorrhoids without having to have surgery. And that's what we talked about. Because there's incredible herbs and exercises and physical therapy and hydrotherapy that are really effective for treating a whole range of colorectal conditions.
Well, thanks for broaching a subject that no one had wanted to do so far. It is useful. And Jennifer and I both used to work in the sales end in the natural health realm in big stores and stuff. And it was kind of always a joke, you know, in a way in the industry where it's like, doing your job well if people can come in there and feel comfortable talking to you about their bowel habits and things like that. And you're like, well, I must really, well, I guess no pun intended, but I must really know my shit. No. Now you have a school, right?
I do.
Is it strictly online or is it in person as well?
Well, the school right now, we're in our this current term, it's a 2-year program. The current one is, we're in the 45th, 46th year. Initially, it was a live in-person program, and it was that way for probably, I don't know, 28 years. And then what we decided to do, because I was having people drive once a week from Virginia, West Virginia, Massachusetts to New Jersey to take the class. And I thought they were crazy. I mean, we're talking about like 5-hour drives to take a 5-hour class. I had people flying in to do it. And of course, you know, flying is worse now, but even then it meant flight delays and flight cancellations. And so we figured out a way to do it where we were doing the live class in person and do it live online at the same time. It was both. And at that point, things expanded dramatically because now I could have students all over the world. Mm-hmm. And we do. We have students.
And they still get the live benefit. Like
they're there. I mean, they're not personally there, but they, you know, there's very little that they're missing. I mean, obviously, if I say, taste this, well, they can't do that. Or smell this. But beyond that, all the information and, you know, the intakes and everything, that's all there. When COVID happened, a lot of herb schools had to shut down. We already had an online program. They've been going for 12 years, and we just went over fully to online. So we had an almost seamless transition. I mean, there was a few hiccups, but very little. And so then through COVID, we continued to be online. And at that point, you know, doing it live, again, we lost our classroom space during COVID and things like that. So we decided to just keep doing it online. In the last 2 years, though, what we start doing is starting to do some live classes again, and anybody who's close enough to join us and is available, they come and do the live class, and then we record it for people who can. So we're doing live herb walks and things like that to anybody who, again, is available, who lives in New York or Connecticut or Pennsylvania or New Jersey, is close enough to come and join us.
Like special breakout things you're doing, not necessarily the whole 2-year program.
No, that's just the sort of special classes. One of the beauties of this conference is I do some other conferences that are fully online. For the students, the experience of sitting in a class listening or being online and listening is not that much different. But for the teacher, it's hugely different. If I tell a joke and everybody's laughing, I'm like, all right, okay. You don't get that energy back when you're teaching online. And so if I have my option, I would much rather teach in person. I love the opportunity, like right here today, I've already met at least 5 current students who are part of either my 2-year program or my graduate program who I'd never met in person.
Oh, wow.
And so we always let them know, hey, I'm going to be at this conference. If you come to the conference, let's get together, let's have lunch, we introduce everybody. It's really about creating community. And it's hard to do that online. We also have every 3 months, we do what we call our meet and greets, where students come online, but this time I can see them and they can see me, and it's much more casual.
Just
and
like a hangout.
Well, it's a hangout. I'll usually do like a short PowerPoint, something I'm not going to do in class. Like I just did one on spring edibles, and then in the autumn I'll do one on common edible mushrooms. And so those are things we don't really focus in on class, but they're fun things. And then I'll also do things like the next one, I'm going to do a show and tell. So I have one of the largest private herbal research libraries in North America. Although it's a little smaller now, I'm starting to donate my library to United Plant Savers. So I gave them the first 1,700 books last year. There's still over 7,000 books from 1550 to current. And so, but my library is not just a library, it's also my office and a museum. And I have all sorts of botanical things and pharmaceutical antiques all over my library. And so, like the next meet and greet, I'll go and pull off 10, 15, 20 different really cool, interesting things. Some of them will be books. Some of them will be, like revolutionary wartime pharmacy tools made out of horn. I mean, just all sorts of crazy stuff. Oh, and don't forget the cobra wine. Got a live, at some point it was a live cobra. Had nothing to do with the demise of the cobra. Things that are just really interesting, really unusual. They'll get to see a bitter cup. You know what a bitter cup is? Well, there's this tree called quassia, and it's really bitter. And so what they used to do is cut the wood, the tree, and they would put it on a lathe and turn it and make a cup, a little goblet. And what you would do is you take your little bitter cup, you'd pour water in it, you let it sit for an hour or two, and it becomes crazy bitter, and you drink it as bitters. I have a bitter cup that's at least probably 150 years old. Can you imagine? It's never going to lose its potency. And so they'll get to see all that kind of cool stuff.
Wow. So is United Plant Savers, I guess, going to kind of like help by slowly donating stuff, you're like, just to preserve long-term and...
At some point, I won't be here, and you can't take your library with you. The nice thing about my library is if I had endless money, I doubt I could reproduce what I've got. I've got books from John Uri Lloyd's personal library collection. I've got all sorts of one-of-a-kind things. It's an amazing collection. For the most part, I mean, some of my friends, herbalists, come visit. They've gotten to see the library and occasionally use it. But now what's going to happen is anybody who wants to go to the UPS plant sanctuary will be able to access the library, not just, once the library's all there, but for generations to come. Yeah, it makes me very happy.
We visited there once to do it was forest farming, forest medicinals, like weekend thing they were doing. And so it's a pretty neat space, but I'll have to go back again and look at the library. I guess as a parting question, we always like to ask people we interview this, like if you had to pick, because it's always hard to pick when you're talking to plant nerds, we know, what are like your top 3 go-tos personally, plant-wise? Maybe not necessarily if you're working with people, but just like resonate with. Can you even pick just 3?
No, I couldn't. That's like saying to some parent, who's your favorite child? Because of my background and my training, I've been studying herbal medicine for 56 years now. I've been in practice for 49 years. And I've been trained in Chinese medicine, Western eclectic medicine, and Southeastern American traditional medicine. And because I have this sort of really wide sort of variety of trainings, and I've kind of amalgamated it into, creating my own systems like my, 10 tastes and language of plants and things like that. I use so many herbs for so many things. And, it's like if you said to me, what's my favorite nervine? Or if we're in the UK, nervine. Well, I actually would probably say fresh oat, fresh milky oat. I think of it as queen of the nervine. It's a slow-acting remedy. It's gentle, but it just, I not only for me personally, but for so many patients over decades, you just see it slowly helping to rebuild that emotional foundation. And it's just such a lovely plant. And it works incredibly well, especially like, for instance, with adaptogens. And I don't know if your listeners know, but of course I wrote actually the first book on adaptogens. We are living such a stressful time, stressful culture. And so adaptogens are really useful, but what a lot of people don't understand is adaptogens are not a one-size-fits-all thing. So there are adaptogens that are stimulating, there are adaptogens that are calming, there are adaptogens that are cooling, there are adaptogens that are warming, there are adaptogens that are drying, there are adaptogens that are moistening, there are adaptogens that are deeply nourishing. The thing is, it's not like, take an adaptogen. It's like if you are going to take one, and by the way, not everybody needs one, but if you do, which one's the right one for you? Which one fits you? Yeah, based on energetics, constitution. So, and that to me is what really constitutes great herbal medicine, is going beyond, great herbalists don't treat diseases, we treat people. So you could have 5 people all diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis and give them 5 really different protocols. I love adaptogens. So I wrote a book about them. That, and I got tired of hearing people say herbs were adaptogens and aren't adaptogens. The final straw was somebody calling cranberry an adaptogen. I was like, that's it. I got to write a book about this. So, for instance, with adaptogens, like Schizandra berry, uetze, 5-flavor fruit. I love Schizandra berry. And it happens to be an adaptogen that works really well for me. Not that I take it all the time, I don't. But it has so many different benefits. And that's one of the great things about herbs. There's very few herbs, with possibly accepting something like senna, that have, that are kind of one-dimensional. Yeah. And actually, even senna has some other uses, but it's still pretty much it's pretty directed. So, it really depends on, at herb conferences, sometimes they'll say to people, what's your favorite herb? And I'm like, please don't ask me. I don't have a favorite herb. But if you said to me, what is your favorite aquaretic? The term?
Not familiar.
An aquaretic is a non-irritating potassium-sparing diuretic.
Okay.
So, dandelion leaf. It's my favorite aquaretic.
Okay.
But if you ask me, again, 3 favorite herbs, what day is it? How do I feel? What do I need? And it just depends on so many factors. And then there's plants that I love that have nothing to do with medicine in the sense of physiological medicine. It's just that I love them. I love irises. And I especially love the old-fashioned irises that smell like bubble gum. To me, they're amazing. Roses. Now, roses are also medicinal. And there's a lot of roses planted here. And I've smelled every rose just about on this campus at this point. And it's like, plastic, a little bit. And then you hit the one and it's like, oh my God, that is just amazing. When you get that deep rose fragrance, and it is so uplifting. Roses are antidepressant. Roses help heal broken hearts. They have all sorts of other effects. I love roses, but I don't like the ones that have no odor. Whether it's Rosa rugosa or the damask rose or the cabbage rose or the apothecary rose, any of them that are aromatic and fragrant are wonderful. Lastly, a group of herbs I really love. And these are really weedy herbs. And these are these herbs like nettle and burdock and mullein, where you get 3 different medicines from one plant that all do different things. So with nettles, you have nettle leaf, nettle root, and nettle seed. Nettle seed is the greatest kidney restorative we have. Use it for degenerative kidney disease. It is phenomenal. You have something like dandelion. The leaves are edible, the flowers are edible, the root's marginally edible. You can roast it, make it into a coffee substitute, but the root is also medicinal, and the leaves are medicinal, and the flowers are medicinal. And then you have mullein, and you can use mullein leaf, and you can use mullein flower, but then you also have mullein root, which is the part nobody uses, which is phenomenal for facial nerve pain and benign prostatic hyperplasia. So these plants that are like, so many people think of them as, these noxious weeds, and they're a gift. They are such a blessing, and they give us, this humble plant gives you food, medicine, not just one medicine, 2 medicines, 3 medicines. I love them.
Yeah, and those are probably going to be, ultimately, and probably have historically been a backbone to human survival, just like the importance of if that can continue to survive despite all odds and no matter what humans are doing, that's probably a pretty good sign.
Well, survive us.
Yeah, forget all the cockroach jokes. It'll be the dandelion. Yeah. Well, thank you, David. Thank you for your time.
Oh, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much. All right, so my school is called David Winston Center for Herbal Studies, and you can find the website at herbalstudies.net. You can go on the website, and there's all the information in school. There's also information about where I'll be teaching. There are download copies of books from my library that people can download for free. And so that's that. And then my book is Adaptogens, Herbs for Strength, Stamina, and Stress Relief. And you can get that on Amazon, or if you get it from us, I'll sign it for you. And I guess since I'm here, I'll just also mention that I also have an herb company called Herbalist and Alchemist. I started Herbalist and Alchemist in 1980. I actually started making herbal products in 1976, and I never actually wanted an herb company. I just was making medicine for my patients because I couldn't get good herbal medicines back then. Mm-hmm. And then when you make herbal medicine, it's hard to make a little bit. You kind of make like a big jar. And I thought, well, what do I do with all the extra? And then I thought, oh, I'll have an herb company. Like I had any idea what was involved in having a company. I have like zero training in business and actually zero interest in business. I love herbs. Business partner. Anyway, so initially we started out to make the absolute best medicine we could for my patients. And now the majority of people taking it aren't my patients anymore. But that same philosophy, that same drive to make just the most incredible medicines that we can is the same. And so, it's kind of cool because the company, has grown. We're not huge, but it's a reasonable sized company. And the majority of people who work for the company have taken my herb studies program, and it's a company of herbalists for herbalists.
And does it have its own like standalone website and shop, or do they go through your?
No, it's herbalist-alchemist.com.
Okay.
We both missed the first class. Then we both went to Doug Elliott's plant walk. And his son, Todd?
Think so.
Yeah.
Let me get my handy dandy cheat sheet.
I thought it was good. Maybe a little long. I mean, all the classes are the same length. Actually, a lady today.
Yeah, Todd.
It was really funny because we were talking about how we love the length of the classes, but someone was complaining today about the length of the classes.
I think it feels longer when you're in a plant walk and it's really hot out.
Yeah, that's right.
I think that's the difference compared to yesterday and today. And depending on how much they're kind of flying by the seat of their pants, which I guess with a plant walk here where they're unfamiliar, that's kind of all they can do.
Yeah. It did seem like they had cased the joint out and knew which plants were where.
Yeah, because it was very deliberate that Todd disappeared behind an air conditioning unit and came back with a thistle, which he peeled and had us eat.
At this stage, when they're a little younger, you can often get really tender, nice shoots out of this. This one's getting a little bit tougher, just like your lettuce. It's a little late in the season. So we can try I just did a little taste on these side shoots, and the side shoots are a bit tender than the main shoot. Maybe. And it's a little bit of a prickly subject.
How do you pick a thistle? Very carefully.
So you can also notice that it's milking a little bit, which is a good indicator that the subfamily of the asters, the Lachucidae, will produce latex like that. Now, does every plant that milks, does that mean it's a lettuce? No. But when you've got something that looks like this, pretty tough. But at least folks can probably get a taste of it.
Right near the top.
So this is a little bit bitter, but you can pass these around and let's see. I wonder.
Want to take a cutting board there?
Yeah.
Our advantage, you can use them as a cutting board as well as a backpack.
So y'all can start coming up and grabbing some of those if you want to nibble. We can also try getting into some of the thicker parts.
That one was fun because Doug had his son along, I guess, probably to kind of help him out and fill in some gaps because it was a long time to fill, and he's, you know, maybe slowing down a little with his time these days. But he still got to sing some of his songs and play his harmonica, and then it was very experiential because they were picking plants for everybody to taste and smell, and Todd put a bee in his mouth. So it was great.
I did not get it on video. I was like, I needed to get that on video.
Yes, we learned today on a plant walk that male carpenter bees can't sting. And so if you manage to catch one, you can hold it and pet it, and he put it in his mouth and then opened his mouth and let it fly out of his mouth. So
not me. I'm not going to do that. Because I'll probably pick a female by accident.
And then he makes really cool tulip poplar purses and backpacks, carrying satchels. Talked a little about how he made those, and because we walked up a hill to where there was a hickory tree, and he showed how he would strip the branches to get enough sinew to make a stand-in for leather sinew for the binding. Oh, and that was the story you missed, Jennifer. Doug said that he'd heard a story once, and he couldn't vouch for if it was true or not, but that there was somebody, their dogs were chasing like a panther or something. Wow. And the panther did what cats do, where they roll over to kick with their back legs, which is like a last line of defense for cats. And then it kicked one of the dogs, and when it ran away, they went up, and the dog's guts were like starting to fall out of it. So that they got some of the hickory sinew and cut it really fast, and basically stitched their dog back up on the spot with the hickory strips.
Like a thread and needle and thread almost?
They had a knife, and they just poked holes, and they laced the dog up like a shoelace with the hickory strips, and that the dog lived. But he doesn't know for sure if the story was true or not. But he was just trying to use it as illustrating, like, you know, the ingenuity you could have on the fly if you know what resources are around you, you know. And he thought it was a good story. So
it's a good story.
Hopefully, if it did happen, the dog really did live. But I missed everything they were saying about the various St. John's species, unfortunately, because we were standing on a hill that apparently the entire hillside was a freaking ant's nest.
Oh no.
So every one of us that was wearing sandals was just constantly like shifting around and kicking our feet, and I couldn't not, like, they're talking about St. John's. What did he say, dang it?
Hi, my name is Lindsay. I am from Waynesville, North Carolina, and this is my first time at this conference. One of my favorites was the plant walk that I just did with Jim McDonald. That was super fun. He is super hilarious. We learned about a very poisonous plant called water hemlock. And we also met up with some Solomon seal and learned a lot about different uses of plants that I have never seen on the internet or in books before. So lots of little anecdotes. And my other favorite class was Teresa Boardwine's class, and it was about extraction methods, and we got to try a bunch of really yummy oxymels and vinegars. I wanted to come because I have a big interest in plants, not just in herbalism, but just in the natural world in general, and I'm trying to learn a whole lot more about plants and plant uses and just be around plants more. I also really love this community and a lot of people that are here. My cousin Kiva is here. I was really excited that she is over this way and spoke here. Yeah, a couple reasons I'm here.
I'm Tess Mullaney. I'm an herbalism student. I go to Corey Pine's Blue Ridge School of Herbal Medicine, and I've been really interested in herbalism maybe like the last 5 years, but like just now starting to go deeper into it. Yesterday we went to the disaster herbalism. Yeah, that one was super fascinating. And then the Nervine and
Fertility.
oh yeah, the fertility one. Yeah, all of them were super informative. I've been loving it so far. Today we started with the intestinal permeability, which for me was very personal because I have SIBO. And then next I think we're going to go to the mushroom, the nootropic one. It's just amazing like being in this environment where like everyone else is like so into plants. Yeah, these are my people for sure. So I love it. Yeah.
I'm Rhiannon Hardigan. I'm a registered nurse. I work at the birth center in Asheville. We use a lot of tinctures and herbal support throughout pregnancy and during labor. And it's really great to be in a space that like can further that knowledge and education and develop more resources to share with patients. And the midwives I work with, especially the infertility course, was really helpful and connected a lot of that to that. But yeah, it's been so great, and I got a lot of awesome books here to further explore. But yeah, I definitely look forward to attending more symposiums like this.
Did you go on 2 herb walks today?
Yeah, then later I went on Jim McDonald's, which was going to be energetics. I guess it was in the sense that he talks about like matching herbs, people's constitutions and stuff, but because he also talks on the fly, it might not have been as detailed into like, we're going to learn about herbal energetics. It was more like, we're just going to talk about a few different plants that we find along our walk. And, you know, he did talk about like the constitutions and situations where he would use those plants. So like, for instance, I learned that the Polygonitum family, which is the true Solomon seal, that there's several varieties in that family, and he's found that all of them tend to, in his use and application, they all tend to work equally well. And it's not really a threatened plant, but it could become one if the right person talked about it and people got obsessed with the plant and started digging it up everywhere because it's the root that's used, so that could make it threatened. So he was just showing how to be sustainable about harvesting it if one were to do so, although you can just buy them as a regular ornamental plant too. So he was encouraging people to just buy ones from garden centers and plant those just to make sure that the plant's always around, kind of thing. And then he pointed out water hemlock that was in a little creek back there, saying it is the most dangerous plant in all of North America. And some people are even sensitive enough to the point that they can't like crush up the leaf or anything and have it touch them. So he was just making sure everyone was very aware of what that plant looked like and so forth. And he talked about ground ivy, which I was appreciative of because I have a lot of that on my property, and I'm just like, I know it's a mint and it smells good, but I've never done anything with it. So because it's aromatic and astringent and a little bit bitter, he was talking about it for congestion that is like either thick and stuck or drippy and wet. Because it's astringent, you wouldn't want to give it to somebody who has like a dry. I wished I would have known about it with the last head cold that I had, because I had a really weird head cold that was just like a few days and it just stayed up here. Yeah, it was weird. It would have been a good one to use then had I known that I could have gone outside and just picked it. And then he talked about black cohosh, but it was nice because he was emphasizing how it is not a he's like, we've gone a long time in herbalism talking about like men's herbs and women's herbs, but that's not always, like, it doesn't mean that if you're a guy and you take black cohosh, the black cohosh is going to be like, what's this? I don't know what to do. So he was talking about applications of black cohosh for broody, gloomy mood spells, which, anybody can get. And also dull, achy pain that's just kind of like naggingly persistent. So yeah, maybe menstrual cramps, but also could be like fibromyalgia or rheumatic things or headaches. And then he brought it up even for something relating to the testicles, just to illustrate how,
right,
the herb can do more things than just what it's like mostly famously pushed for. Yeah, I mean, I think a big takeaway from everybody here, and increasingly with books I've read from herbalists who've like practiced a really long time, is that it's better to just know a few things extremely well, preferably ones that you can grow or have naturally in your biome, because then you won't be in a tight spot if there's supply chain issues. That the more you know about the person you're helping, even if that person is just yourself, the constitution of the situation, like not just I have a cough, but I have a cough at this time of day versus night versus is it this, is it that. The more you can drill down on the elements of whatever's wrong in the disease, the more you might be able to pinpoint an herb without needing to use some broad formula, because you can be like, oh, well, this herb covers 5 of the 6 ailments that you just complained about, therefore you could do more of it and maybe not have to do as much other stuff or something. So that's I think a good takeaway.
Hi, I'm Todd, Elliot, and I'm passionate about all different aspects of the natural world. I work mostly as an ecologist and biologist and do different aspects of sort of natural science research, interested in how organisms interface and sort of the overlap and how humans can interact in a positive way in both land management, but also how we as humans can deal with finding food, finding medicine, and how we can work as land stewards across that landscape. I'm also interested in fungal biology and how fungi play into the landscape, as well as how we can use them as foods and medicine. And this weekend I'll be talking a bit about plants and animals and fungi and organisms and whatever else we can find out there in the forests and fields around us.
I'm Nicole Smith, and I'm the National Sales Manager for Herbalist and Alchemist. David Winston is the president of our company and our master formulator. We've been in business for over 40 years. We are in Northwest New Jersey, in the beautiful mountains of New Jersey. People don't believe that we have farms there, but we do. And we work with a lot of local farmers. We have a whole adaptogenic line, and we make over 250 products. You can find us at www.herbalist-alchemist.com.
So you did cooling remedies for climate change with Kat Mayer while I was on the plant walk with Jim. And I was really curious to know what plants she would maybe talk about for that, and how would you apply it?
So it's interesting because I kind of wish I had this class when I was working at the warehouse. I guess I can say this now because I worked at a warehouse for 5 years, and we had no AC in the warehouse area. We had it in the break room and the offices. So I could duck in there for a minute, but like I couldn't, and it was very, very hot, like 70 to 80 something degrees, and like 60 to something percent, 50 to 60% humidity. And, we were like doing very physical work. And it was very stressful on my body. I have some chronic illnesses that made it worse. So these herbs would have, I think, been helpful. So she talked about cooling bitters, chokeberry, hawthorn, pomegranate, a lot of
chokeberry or chokecherry?
Chokeberry. This one.
Oh, aronia.
Aronia.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, aronia berry.
And was she mostly talking about like internal uses? Okay.
Yeah, this is all internal stuff like pomegranates, hawthorn, blueberries, antioxidants, things like that. Diaphoretics, yarrow flower, peppermint. Sour is cooling to the liver, so your liver heat is inflammation, and you don't want your liver to be hot. So I think when your body gets overheated, your liver can be hot. So these things will kind of like cool it down, like rose family, hawthorn berries, rose hips, lemon balm, sumac berry, strawberries, something like that. And she's definitely like a big proponent of teas, and it sounds like then just eating berries. Oh, because when you get hot and stressed, you can get constipated.
Mm-hmm.
So demulcents, like plantain seeds apparently is what's in Metamucil.
It's related to the
it has
psyllium.
So apparently you can take it eat those as a bulk laxative. You have to drink a lot of water. Tulsi, she had this formula: rose petal, tulsi, and oak tea for cooling heat. Bitter tonics, bitters
because of the liver element
liver digestion. So like Oregon grape root, burdock, dandelion root, motherwort, blue vervain, and skullcap. And this idea of taking some of these tonics like right now, where I think we're a little too late, but before the heat hits, to get your body like stronger and ready to like be more resilient to the heat. Summer foods: watermelon, cucumber, hibiscus.
Makes sense.
Sumac berry. Another for like heart heat, because apparently when you get hot and overheated,
your heart works harder.
Has to work harder. So hawthorn leaf and flower, hibiscus flower, and tulsi. And then she did a recipe for a electrolyte, a homemade electrolyte. But like basically these are herbs that can help with really hot heat that we are going to be experiencing more and more. And I was like, man, gotta use some of that. But I did electrolytes. I added electrolytes. Because she said if you're just drinking water and it's super hot, it's not going to do enough. You actually need the minerals
to get it into your cells.
Water is good, but you just, and I was experiencing that. I was experiencing heat exhaustion. I was experiencing like just, I mean, I literally would work all day in the heat, but my body would be so stressed out, I'd have to go to the sauna afterwards. And then I would go out and run. So I was just like trying to, it was, yeah, I mean, like you just couldn't get away. I think it was hard because it was 8 hours. You couldn't get away from it for a really sustained period of time. So your body was just bombarded, like constantly in this like extreme fighting mode.
And then the last closing panel of the day was Kat Mayer and Jim McDonald and Tessia?
Yeah.
I think that's how Jim said it at first, and then they corrected him, and I don't remember what the correction was. So apologies, Tessia love.
I need to have it cut out on us. Okay.
So the last one was the panel from Routine to Resilience, Harnessing Herbs and Nutrition for Daily Wellness. And that was cool to get the mix of the Ayurvedic with the energetics and a little bit of Chinese medicine, kind of all sort of blended together. I don't know who came up with the questions. I missed the very beginning when they started talking, like how the conversation got kicked off. Like they each kind of came in with something to say, found a way to weave it together to make it relevant, because they didn't know what each other was going to say until they were there. And then when they got to the end and got to have audience questions and comments, it like kind of broadened the conversation a little more to help it flow, and it all kind of clicked and everything. Thought that was a good way that it unfolded. There wasn't, I don't feel like there was as much detail in that, but it was also the end of the day and everybody was kind of like,
tired.
My brain is jam-packed. What more is there to say, so.
It was interesting because they had some clinicians and some people who saw patients, and they talked about it from that angle. There's practicing herbalists that go to this conference, and nurses, and got a little different spin to it than just a bunch of like us
lay people.
My name is Joanna Mann, and along with my husband Trevor, we run Walden Farmacy, and we're a permaculture style herb farm located right outside of Birmingham, Alabama. And we grow and craft herbal medicines in a way that is healing to the land that we are farming, and know that that healing is going to ripple out into our community and into the medicine that we're producing. This is our 4th year at Medicines from the Earth, and we just always have such a beautiful time at this conference, immersed with like-minded individuals and learning so much from the teachers that are here every year. I always love the classes with Kat Meyer that really focus on direct plant connection. This year I really loved seeing Jim McDonald. He was kind of on my herbalist bucket list. He's just hilarious to listen to talk, as well as just so informative with all of the herbal information that is in his head. So it's been a great year, and we're looking forward to next year. We're at www.Walden Farmacy, and that's farm with an F.com.
I'm Kiva Rose from New Mexico, and I think so far, more than just a class, my favorite experiences have been walking around with other herbalists, like on the plant walk trails, and I'm especially looking forward to Jim McDonald's plant walk later today. I'm a folk herbalist from New Mexico, from the wilderness near Reserve, New Mexico, which is near the border with Arizona. And I'm a practicing herbalist. I also run a conference called the Good Medicine Confluence, and I have a magazine called Plant Healer, also ebooks, and I'm an author. And so everything plants. Like, I'm just obsessed with plants, and everything in my life revolves around that. I especially am interested in bioregional southwestern plants. I write about that on my website, which is enchantersgreen.com, and in my books. So I came here to just be with plant people and connect more about plants.
Probably wrap this up because it is very late, and I have work.
But now we know what the Medicines from the Earth Symposium is all about.
Yes, and
decades worth of awesomeness.
Yes, and we'd love to do this again next year. I think it's going to be at its normal spot. This is not its usual spot. Yeah, so thanks for coming on this journey with us, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Oh, in the mouse. Got more rooms than anyone's house. Hey diddle high, hey diddle little. Look inside, there's a possum in the middle. What is it?
Black walnut.
There you go. You know, by the stain you drive, black walnut. So black walnut. Hi, there's a big black stain in my driveway. Black walnuts have that big husk around them. You take a hammer or your hand, try to break that husk apart. Your hands end up dyed brown for about 2 weeks. And one of the old traditional ways of doing it is you pour them out in your driveway. You drive over them for a week or so. And that takes away all the husks. And you rake them out of the driveway, hose them off. And then what we do is we just put them in have a little cage. We put them on the porch. Put them in the cage to keep the mice and the squirrels out of it. And they'll keep. And you can keep outside. Sometimes they keep 2 years. They even had some that kept for 3 years. You think how important that would be for native people to have food that you could store that long. You know? And so high as a house, low as a mouse. High as a house, so the tree's high as a house. Nuts low as a mouse. Right? Got more room than anyone's house. Yeah, look at all those little rooms in there. Wow. See all the little rooms. Got more rooms than my house anyway. You know, and then hey diddle little high, hey diddle little. Look inside. There's a possum in the middle. What in the world is that we're talking about? Well, you have to crack a lot of walnuts. But we were cracking walnuts one day, and somebody goes, "Look, there's a possum." Where? There it was in the nutshell.
Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness.
You have to crack a lot of possums to get a possum. To get a lot of black walnuts to get a possum. It really looks like one.
That is amazing.